The cost of maintaining our homes is going up, and finding available trades with short notice can be tough. But catching problems early can save time and money. So, do you know the warning signs of structural damage in your home? Russell McCarthy from WA Building Inspections Perth is here to address your concerns. Welcome to the program, Russell, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, how important is it to keep on top of even the smallest of signs?
Look, small things can become big things. Obviously, small damage and a small amount of damage to your property is relatively insignificant to repair, whereas left unchecked, it can obviously continue to deteriorate and it can cost tens, thousands of dollars to remediate.
What is the best way of keeping on top of things then? Is it a monthly walk around of your house, for example, just to check on things?
Look, I think getting annual building and pest inspections is important. We do it with our health, we do it with vehicles. I think there's no difference doing it with arguably the most expensive thing that you're going to purchase, which is a house. And that way, isolating not only the type of damage that you've got and allowing, industry professionals to determine if that's considered fair wear and tear, potentially it's something more significant. At the very least, you're going to have peace of mind.
All right, let's expand on that a bit. What are the most common small signs of something that could be more significant?
It could be as simple as, jamming up doors or, difficult to open windows, things of that nature. It can all speak to the twisting and the contorting of the building. We get it a lot with cracking potentially. It's the type of cracking that we're looking for. A minor or a small crack can be relatively cost effective to remediate. If you have got an industry professional to outline what that damage is, at the very least you can get an action plan in place.
Is that what you would recommend if you see one of those things, to call in someone who perhaps is the professional, who knows what they're looking for?
Yeah, definitely, because it's like I said, you can look at a crack and a crack's one thing, potentially, and we're talking about brickwork here for a second, and there's a multitude of areas that this can apply to, from framework to subfloors. If we're talking about cracking, for example, it's not necessarily what the crack is doing, but what it's sort of speaking to. Potentially you've got loss of foundation or loss of compaction. The property is not necessarily performing the way it should, and that can come about by the smallest of wall fractures or, things of that nature.
Viewers are telling us what is worrying them. Tanya Cameron says, my bricks are deteriorating and nobody seems to want to know about it. My home is 22 years old. Okay,
so I think trying to isolate the issue, if it's the potential, the actual brick itself, that needs to be explored a little bit more. You can get it from weather, you can get it from excessive amounts of wind. She might be referring to mortar fretting. Mortar fretting is the bed joints, or the perpendicular joints within the essentially what makes up the foundations, and what the glue is essentially it's the glue that bonds the brickwork together. And if that is deteriorating, it's relatively straightforward to fix. But if it's the brick specifically, we'll have to have that explored a little bit more.
Rye Gibson writes, early 90s cheap house and land package where they use those white thermalite blocks, cracks everywhere. Best I've been told I can do is demolish my house. Really?
I probably want to have a closer look at what it is that he's talking about. I mean, thermalite bricks was common for a reasonable amount of time. It's essentially, it's an aerated brick. It's great for acoustic properties. It's great for thermal, but it's notorious for vertical cracking, particularly if laid wet. So again, it's about isolating the issue altogether and trying to understand what it is that he needs repaired. I don't know if demolishing is quite necessary.
No, that seems quite extreme. This one from Tony Gicellis Jr. Biggest problem with living rural is, say, a plumber. They charge you for travelling to and from. You're better off trying to do it yourself and pray that it holds. Russell, where should you draw the line at DIY?
I wouldn't be doing anything that without a licensed trade, without someone who's appropriately qualified. Whether it's stormwater and the discharge of water away from your property, whether it's pressure vessels and plumbing specifically, you wouldn't want to be doing that on your own. It is a licensed trade. It's a licensed trade for a reason. I'd probably take a similar approach to that of an electrician or an electrical contractor. You don't tamper with that without an industry professional.
Do you know if that affects insurance?
I would imagine it would, yes. Yeah, I'd imagine it would.
Russell McCarthy from WA Building Inspections Perth, we really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Monica. Thanks for having me.